Hello and welcome to My Life in Spain. My name's Mark, and today I thought we'd take a look at what the weather's like in Spain year-round. This is especially important if you're planning to move here for any length of time. Before I get started, let me get a glass of water. Now, most people visit Spain for their vacations in the summertime, and it's hot. There's no getting away from it. It's hot. Everywhere in Spain is pretty hot in the summer. But where I live, in Alicante province, in southeastern Spain, it's especially warm. And you can have days when it gets over 40 degrees centigrade, which 40 degrees is 104 Fahrenheit. So very, very hot. Now, unlike tropical places, it's not so humid here. It's more of a dry heat, like the kind you'd find in Las Vegas. But for example, Seville, in August, it's like walking into an oven. It's just unbearable. So if you're going to Seville, think about this. Don't go in August. Okay, now, like I say, most people's conception is that Spain is a very warm country. And that's yes and no. Sure, it's milder than anywhere else in Europe. We get, in this part of Spain and in Andalusia on the coast, you get over 320 days of sunshine a year. So that's very appealing. But the winters can be cold. And when I say winter, I'm talking about from November until March. Now, I've lived in Spain for 15 years, and during that time, where I live, which is 30 minutes away from the coast, at 1,850 feet up in the mountains, it snowed 3 times. And when I say snow, I mean not a lot of snow. It just snows and in a few hours it's gone. But it does stay on the mountains around us. The mountains around the city of Arco, where I live, are about 5,000 feet high. So it can be quite pretty, and especially after the clouds have gone and the snow's still there and the sun's out. Very, very pretty. But it's still cold. And all of the apartments and houses they build here, none of them are insulated, which means you're going to need some kind of heat. And that can be expensive for a few months of the year, at least 3 months of the year. One of the contributing factors to the floods this year, last year, 2024, was that in I think it was 61, there was a flood in Valencia itself, in the city of Valencia, when the river Turia overflowed its banks. And I think 81 people died. And in response to that, the government decided to reroute the river further south, which is why if you visit Valencia today, the riverbed is turned into, like, I think it's the largest urban park in Europe. It's very nice. But because they moved the river further south, the rains last year had a big impact. And again, the water had nowhere to go, so it just flooded these villages. Now, could it have been helped? Sure. But you just have to know to pay attention when they tell you there's going to be a Dana or a Gota Fria, that it could flood if you're in an area that's prone to flood. So just be very careful. Even in places like Benidorm, you can have floods. I mean, the rain just pours in the mountains and just comes rushing down, and you have flash floods. It's just the way of life here. It's something people don't think about probably before they move here. So anyway, that's something to think about. And like I say, it's cold in the winter. The summer's really nice. I mean, I'm lucky where I live at the elevation I'm at. I mean, years ago when I worked in Beirut, in the summertime, people that had money, the wealthy people, would move up into the mountains to a town called Brumana, where they had a summer home. And the reason for that was it allowed you to escape the heat. Because even though it's hot during the day, in the evening, it's absolutely beautiful when the sun goes down. So you couldn't have a better climate than that. And the same thing is here in Spain. Whether you're in the Costa Blanca or you're in the Costa del Sol, both have mountains behind them. And there's villages and cities in the mountains that can give you that kind of a life. To sum it up, this is probably the best climate I've ever lived in. I lived in the Bahamas for a while, and just like South Florida, every day it seems to rain in the summertime. And it's humid. And not having the humidity is wonderful. Nothing worse than having your clothes stick to you or having to go from your air-conditioned car to an air-conditioned building. So it's very pleasant here. We even have an app in the city where I lived that tells you what side of the street to walk on because of the where's in the shade and where's not, which is, to me, is obvious anyway. You can see for yourself. But if you do decide to move to Spain, just bear in mind that it does get cold for a few months in the winter. And when it rains, it can really rain. Oh, one other event that I forgot to mention is blood rain. Now, I know it sounds awful, but it's a term they use to describe when Saharan sand, dust, gets picked up in the winds and mixes with a storm. And when it rains, it turns everything red. So if you've got your car parked outside, it's a bit of a mess the next day. But that's something I have never seen anywhere else. So blood rain, just think of it. Oof. Anyway, listen, thanks for listening or watching. And I'll see you next week. Bye for now.